From the newsroom of Impact Alpha, this is your Impact Briefing for the week of Friday, March 6, 2020. I'm Brian Walsh. Today, Impact Alpha's David Bank will discuss the story of the week, the coronavirus and its impact on impact investing. Hi, David.
Hey, Brian.
We also have Jessica Pothering, who will later profile this week's Agent of Impact. Hi, Jessica, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Brian. Happy to be here.
But first, here's what you need to know from this week in impact investing. Is carbon tech for real? Prime Coalition, a climate finance nonprofit, has released a set of tools for investors to evaluate carbon removal investments. The Paris Climate Agreement assumes that tens of gigatons of carbon dioxide will be removed from the atmosphere by mid-century. But bringing those technologies to scale and making them profitable has proven challenging. You can find these investor tools at primecoalition.org/climate-impact. Quona Capital is trying to keep the inclusive in inclusive fintech. Quona's $200 million plus fund to invest in financial services companies in Latin America, Africa, and Asia was anchored by the nonprofit Acción, but it also received institutional capital from Prudential Financial, MasterCard, and the Ford Foundation. The arts are getting investable. The UK's Nesta Fund has raised £20 million to provide affordable and flexible loans for arts organizations that banks consider too risky. Meanwhile, the African Export-Import Bank is set to invest $500 million in Africa's creative economy over the next 2 years. Now I'm joined by David Bank with this week's featured story. David, COVID-19 is scrambling plans all over the world. What's its impact on the impact investing world?
Well, Brian, the overload of conferences and the problem of too many airplane rides is something everybody's always been complaining about, but nobody ever sort of did anything about it until now. This week, organizers pulled the plug on a raft of, obviously, not only impact investing and social change gatherings, but also the Skoll World Forum was canceled, the Global Impact Investing Network's Investor Council meetings were canceled. The World Bank is going to have its spring meetings by video conference. That was going to bring 10,000 people to Washington, D.C. next month. So there's some kind of natural experiment going on. Were all these conferences really necessary for getting the work done? I can tell you there are a lot of people who suddenly have open space on their calendars and don't have to make that trip.
All right, so that might be what we could bucket as a first world problem. So what are the impact investors doing about the real world impact of the coronavirus?
Well, there's not a lot they can do, immediately. I mean, the crisis, at the front lines is much more public health, government response kind of challenge. But some investors are making the case that this bears out longer term impact strategies, risk reduction strategies in general around community resilience, certainly around frontline public health infrastructure, and of course, making sure that any treatments or vaccines that get developed, reach the people most at risk and perhaps least able to pay, as quickly as everybody else.
And this virus has had a huge impact on businesses and stock markets around the world. Are there any sectors that may benefit from this?
Well, people are saying that anybody that can, help people work remotely or not have to leave their homes. I mean, the TV stocks and video conferencing stocks may be up. But, more broadly, it does demonstrate the need for, good government, and the need for universal health care, the need for international cooperation, and frankly, the fossil fuels and even the air quality around Beijing. Fossil fuel use and air pollution is going down, and in fact, I think this will cut carbon emissions when they get around to measuring all that. So, not that those are really upsides, but there is kind of a wake up call here.
Yeah, whenever there is a dip in the global economy, especially in China's economy, there is also a corresponding dip in carbon output.
Maybe we all take a breather.
Okay, well, I'm sure there'll be more to come in this ongoing COVID-19 crisis, and we'll be following it in the pages of Impact Alpha.
Thanks, Brian.
Now it's time for this week's Agent of Impact, profiled today by Jessica Pothering. Jessica, who's making an impact this week?
Well, Brian, as some Impact Alpha readers know, I relocated to the Netherlands last year and have been really impressed with the Netherlands' vibrant impact investing ecosystem. One of the real builders there is a woman by the name of Willemijn Verloop. She's the co-founder of Social Impact Ventures. She's a longtime advocate, has helped launch dozens of social impact enterprises there. And about 5 years ago, she raised an early stage fund for Dutch impact startups or companies that just have a presence in the Netherlands. So think companies like Summasource, who's become a pioneer in what's now called impact sourcing. Villamine's now doubling the size of that fund to support early stage impact companies in the Netherlands addressing the circular economy, healthy living, and also good jobs and education. And what's really key to the fund and has been since they started is their commitment to impact rigor. They were among the first funds in the Netherlands to tie their fund profits to impact performance. And when Social Impact Ventures sold its stake in the biofuels company Good Fuels, Finco Fuels Group, who bought Social Impact Ventures out, was so impressed by the impact metrics that they committed to continue tracking impact. So in any case, the Dutch impact investing ecosystem has really developed, thanks in large part to Willemijn. She's been a real leader in helping to shape the ecosystem as it continues to grow. And that's why she's this week's Agent of Impact.
Thanks so much, Jessica. You can find this week's and all of our Agents of Impact on Instagram @ImpactAlpha. That's it for your Impact Briefing this week. You can read more about all of these stories at impactalpha.com. Only subscribers receive full access to Impact Alpha content, including deal flow, job postings, and a Slack channel. For our podcast listeners, we're offering a first year half off. Use code BRIEFING50 at checkout to become a subscriber today. Thank you for listening, and thanks to David Bank, Jessica Pothering, and our producer Isaac Silk, who also edited this episode and wrote the theme song. I'm Brian Walsh, head of impact at the fintech company Liquidnet. Make sure you check back next week for the latest impact investing news.